physician's perspective, when treating a patient or treating a disorder, there has to be a systematic approach to it. I like this last illustration of crack, right? Cocaine, whatever form of addictive substances that exist, the television, the cell phone. I also like to say that when used properly, these substances or these things actually have positive uses as well. But it is determined or dependent upon the user. Now, we have to understand that there is something called coping mechanisms that we all adjust and we all apply to our daily lives. When we experience moments of stress, we adjust certain behaviors in order to cope with that stress, all right? Sometimes that becomes, it becomes a learned behavior because the repetition of any action becomes something that we learn how to do. So we are cognitively or subconsciously programming ourselves to respond to various forms of stress without assessing what our triggers are. We bypass the trigger of what the stressor is, and we go to other things, to which I drew a little diagram for myself, because you really have to be able to grasp certain concepts in order to reverse certain disorders. And from a psychological perspective, like where psychologists or psychiatrists treat patients using cognitive behavioral therapy, where they have people lay on tables and talk about their traumatic experiences to basically revisit the traumatic stressor as an event, and then change the way the person responds to, I'm knocking all types of stuff down. I'm sorry. I guess I'm just dropping jewels. But the person has to revisit their stressing trigger in order to reprogram or reassess how they responded to it in order to change it. If that is not done, then you have certain levels of resistance. Resistance such as denial, rejection, transference of blame or fault. It's everyone else's fault except my own. Avoidance of changing the behavior. And I think that like 8/18/18 is a beautiful day, like for many different reasons. It's also the birthstrong of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who preached a form of radical nationalism, roughly at around the time that most people think that, well, say the Willie Lynch Fact was written. But in any case, he said that people without knowledge of their roots are like a tree, they get knocked down, So if there's a learned behavior where we avoid learning what our triggers are, that's a problem that we have to change. So it's a form of preparation, right? Like, a lot of us are not informed, so like we have to also analyze like where our forms of spirituality have come from and what we use them for or what we apply them to which spirituality and all of its different forms have been used to scientifically or give a more humane or mortal perspective of the world around or around all of us. We have to demystify the world in order to better understand it. Of course, we're able to manipulate its structures to our advantage. It's like, being in the wilderness. Eventually we're going to say, I need some type of shelter, I need to cover myself, I need to protect myself from the environment. So we say in our minds, here's a problem, I need to fix this. I go put some clothes on, I go put some shelter over. So, but in the identification of what is the suffering or what the problem is, we also voice a solution, but sometimes we're not hearing our own solution at the same time that we're voicing our own problem. We're saying, I don't have this. Okay, what don't you have? Specify. Narrow down what it is that you need to change, right? As a form of preparation. Because before any behavior can be modified or adjusted, or any illness can be treated, the awareness and the acceptance of the disease has to be recognized. Outside of that, like, we can throw drugs, we can throw medication, we can throw television and cell phones and all these other things that we would like to transfer fault on. But it's not going to treat the issue until the individual that is sick recognizes that they have an mix within it. And so we change that. So once the preparation is made, through either educating themselves, usually it's in an educational process that people, I feel, hit a certain ceiling as far as changing their behavior or their form of response to certain stressors. In which case, the thing